Thank you. The next item of business is a statement by Ivan McKee in Shaping Scotland's Economy, Scotland's Inward Investment Plan. The Minister will take questions at the end of his statement, so there should be no interventions or interruptions. And I call on Ivan McKee. Minister, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Presiding Officer, today the Scottish Government is publishing its plan for inward investment, and I'm pleased to outline to Parliament how it will help to shape Scotland's economy. The plan is the second of three pillars focused on internationalising the Scottish economy. The first was our export growth plan, a trading nation. The final one will be our international capital investment plan. And all three are to be framed by our trade principles paper, which will emphasise the importance of values and building a fairer Scotland. Presiding Officer, Scotland has a strong track record in attracting inward investment. For the past 7 years, Scotland has attracted the most inward investment projects of any UK nation or region outside of London. Inward investment makes a positive and significant impact on Scotland's economy. Inward investment provides 624,000 jobs, more than a third of total employment. It contributes almost 42 billion in GVA, it also represents 50% of business turnover, generates more than 60% of our business spending on research and development, and more than 3/4 of Scotland's exports. Because there is a strong positive relationship with productivity, with innovation and with trade, inward investment also strengthens and complements domestic businesses. It helps to transfer skills, build innovative capacity, support local supply chains and spur exports, creating a more open and outward-facing economy. It gives local businesses access to global technology, talent and markets. The time is right to build on these strong foundations, to optimise the opportunities and benefits for our economy and society from inward investment. Scotland's Inward Investment Plan sets out the actions we will take to help create a net zero economy built on the principles of fair work and inclusive growth, creating opportunities for both women and men across Scotland. The COVID-19 pandemic highlights the need for greater resilience in our economy and to build back better. Scotland's Inward Investment Plan therefore represents a fundamental shift in focus. Investors will assess key factors such as availability of skills, strength of supply chains and access to technology when making decisions on establishing or expanding their operations. We in Scotland have been very successful at persuading a range of companies interested in locating in Scotland to do so. Presiding Officer, we now want to apply a more strategic approach where we will focus on the sectors where Scotland has genuine global strengths, confidently set out our stall to those whose values align with ours, work cohesively across Scotland's regions to attract inward investment that builds on our many local strengths, and be laser-focused on maximising wider economic and social benefits for local economies and communities. Scotland's strong position as a progressive, inclusive and outward-looking country will be central to our partnership offer to investors. We want to attract companies, entrepreneurs, businesses and workforces who share our values and can help us progress our economic ambitions. Our robust analytical approach has identified 9 opportunity areas for Scotland's genuine global strengths, often built upon our deep academic excellence, align with global investment opportunities and offer the most potential to maximise economic benefits across Scotland. Running through these opportunity areas is our focus on net zero, on digital and on high-value manufacturing. Energy transition, the shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources and the use of decarbonisation to reduce emissions across a range of energy-intensive sectors, leveraging our natural resources and deep water expertise. Decarbonisation of transport, focused on low-carbon powertrains primarily and heavy-duty vehicles. Software and IT, from software development and IT services to games development and telecommunications, leveraging our globally recognised excellence in informatics and AI. Digital financial services, the innovative application of new technology and data to transform how financial services and products are delivered, building on our world-leading fintech cluster. Digital business services, the global business service sector has experienced a period of significant change from the delivery of transactional services to more complex and higher value services. Scotland's world-leading space sector, already manufacturing more satellites here than anywhere outside of California, with ambitions to deliver an end-to-end solution for small satellite manufacture, launch and data analysis, with a focus on tackling environmental challenges. Health tech, including integrated digital health technology utilising data capture and analysis, sensors and AI alongside our world-leading expertise in precision medicine. The transformation of chemical industries, including industrial biotechnology and emerging clean technology which can support the transition of petrochemical-based industries to sustainable manufacturing using renewable feedstocks. And finally, innovation in our world-renowned food and drink sector, contributing to our activity and ambition for Scotland to be a good food nation by developing food production systems that help to achieve net zero emissions targets, introducing advanced manufacturing technologies that improve productivity and sustainability, and creating healthier food and drink products. We will build regional clusters of expertise around specific strengths, making Scotland a more attractive proposition for potential investors and ensuring that all parts of Scotland benefit. Space, for example, is a future opportunity area for Shetland, for Moray, for Edinburgh and South East Scotland, for Glasgow, the Western Isles and, of course, Sutherland. Food and drink innovation is already strong in the Highlands and Islands, the North East, the south of Scotland, Glasgow, Argyll and Bute, with significant potential for growth across all of these regions and more. While uncertainty around the long-term impacts of COVID-19 remains, independent analysis suggests that our 9 opportunity areas are likely to be amongst the most resilient throughout and beyond the pandemic. We will seek investment opportunities which offer higher spillover benefits for the domestic economy, so that inward investment contributes to economic recovery, as well as helping shape Scotland's future economy. The revised approach seeks to deliver 100,000 jobs over the next decade. The focus on wider spillover benefits could deliver significant additional benefits to Scotland's economy over the next 2 decades. A $4 billion increase in annual GDP, more than a $2 billion increase in exports, and a 1.2% increase in government revenue, representing an additional £680 million per year at current prices. This will ensure that Indigenous businesses across all of Scotland have the opportunity to benefit, that we can develop strong domestic supply chains and provide new skills and job opportunities for Scotland's people. Delivering additional high-value jobs is a key benefit for our nation. Scotland's skilled workforce is its #1 asset. We now need to ensure that our workforce has all the skills needed to attract greater flows of inward investment and to benefit from the new jobs created. Presiding Officer, we will undertake a digital skills drive to increase the number of people with advanced digital skills. This will also help to retrain and re-employ people losing jobs in other sectors due to the pandemic, helping the wider economy as well as individuals, their families and communities. Presiding Officer, home working is not a new concept, but has become more significant in response to the COVID crisis. There will be a strong role for Scotland to play a pivotal role to a pivot to a remote and distributed working model. We will focus our effort on promoting Scotland as a global leader in the creation of a supportive environment for remote, distributed and local working, and aligned to the development of our Moving to Scotland resource. Our targeted approach to inward investment creates significant potential for enhanced research and development and innovation. We will build on our existing activity, Interface, our 7 innovation centres, the new National Manufacturing Institute, our industry leadership groups, to help further strengthen the ties between academia and industry, and ensure our higher education institutions maximise their contribution to attracting inward investment. A key aspect will be to support stronger ties between academia and industry in Scotland by working with universities to create a collective approach to stimulating inward investment and innovation, including through the handling of IP. Presiding Officer, we need a clear-sighted laser focus to succeed in delivering on the ambitions in Scotland's inward investment plan. We will focus on strategic investments that shape, places and deliver high-value jobs, aiming ultimately to allocate £20 million per annum to this work. We will streamline and align our approach across the entire Team Scotland international effort behind this new strategic direction. This will include supporting specific Scotland Is Now marketing activity to promote our 9 opportunity areas to international audiences, and to get the message across that Scotland is open for business to everyone who shares our vision and values. Presiding Officer, I'm acutely aware that I'm launching this inward investment plan at a time of huge uncertainty. COVID-19 continues here in Scotland and around the world to have dreadful impacts on people's health and well-being and creating economic harm. While many businesses are focused on simply keeping afloat, we are determined to build back better and to use the disruption that has been caused to address vulnerabilities and fragilities, not least in supply chains. Despite the pandemic, companies continue to choose to invest in Scotland, including in recent months tech businesses such as Trustpilot, Illuminate Technologies and Adinmo. And only this month, the global life science business Thermo Fisher announced the creation of another 200 jobs at their site in Perth. Presiding Officer, we also face Brexit at the end of the year, and whether it is a no deal or a bad deal, all the analysis shows it will harm many parts of Scotland's economy. We have to work even harder to get across the message that Scotland is not the UK. Our values and ambitions are different from those of the UK governments. This backdrop makes Scotland's inward investment plan all the more urgent and vital. Leaving things to chance risks the progress and success we have had to date. Put simply, now more than ever, we need to have a plan in place for inward investment that targets effort and resource strategically to shape Scotland's economy in the future. I'm therefore proud to be the Minister presenting Scotland's inward investment plan to Parliament today, and I'm happy to take questions on it from members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I have about 20 minutes for questions. Can I ask those who want to ask questions to press the request to speak buttons now? And I call on Maurice Golden, please.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer, and I thank the Minister for advance sight of his statement. Any move to create jobs in Scotland is to be welcomed, especially given the economic disruption our country is experiencing. However, while I applaud the efforts to create jobs, I am sceptical of the promises. Today, the Minister promises to boost digital skills, yet the Digital Growth Scheme has only managed to pay out 13% of promised funds. He also promises 100,000 jobs, but this SNP government only managed to deliver 2,000 of the 28,000 green jobs Alex Salmond promised. In fact, there could have been 260,000 extra jobs here in Scotland if the SNP had matched UK job creation rate since coming to office. So with a track record of broken promises and economic failure, can the Minister provide any assurance that this promise will be delivered?
Minister.
As I said in the statement, Scotland has the record of being the best performing part of the UK outside of London, better than Northern Powerhouse, better than the Midlands, East Midlands or West Midlands, better than any other part of the UK in attracting inward investment. Not last year, not just last year, not just the year before, not just the year before that. For each of the last 7 years, Scotland's a very proud record at attracting inward investment. What this plan does is to focus that on sectors where we do have genuine global strengths, and Scotland has many of those. The plans in here are based on analysis, they're achievable, they're deliverable, and this government is committed to delivering what needs to be done to make that growth happen for Scotland's economy.
Rhoda Grant.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and I wish to thank the Minister for prior sight of his statement. The statement's full of aspirations that can't be argued with, but unfortunately it doesn't say very much about how these aspirations will be delivered. The aspiration that the energy transition will lead to jobs is welcome, but it rings hollow this week with news that BIFAB have been unable to secure any contracts. Can I ask why the Scottish Government have withdrawn their support from BIFAB, leading to the bid for work on Nash na Gui being withdrawn?
Minister.
The member will be aware that my colleague, the Cabinet Secretary for the Economy, has spoke to MSPs on this morning, and will be making further statements here regarding the specifics of that situation. So I'm not going to comment. I'll give it her place to be able to comment on those aspects when she's able to do so.
Thank you. 11 members wanted to ask questions, and I want to get to all of you, but we must stop at 3:45. So short questions, succinct answers, please. Kenneth Gibson, followed by Michelle Ballantyne.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and I warmly welcome the Cabinet Secretary's statement. In response to a question I asked on the 2nd of September, the First Minister said, and I quote, "The decommissioning of Hunterston B power station raises challenges, but it also raises opportunities in relation to our energy mix and community and economic regeneration. It's important that we work collaboratively to seize these opportunities." Minister, in the 8 weeks since, what steps have been taken to take these opportunities forward, specifically with a view to attracting inward investment into Hunterston Port and Resources Centre and its environs?
Minister.
Thank you. Kenny Gibson is right to highlight Henderson. It's exactly the sort of opportunity we envisage for this new plan to help shape Scotland's economy. We're all aware of the huge potential Scotland has in renewable energy resources, and that is why energy transition is one of the 9 opportunity areas identified in the plan. We'll therefore work to specifically attract inward investment within this area, will help benefit Hunterston Port and Resource Centre with the aim of creating much-needed high-value jobs and prosperity for North Ayrshire.
Michelle Ballantyne, followed by Stuart McMillan.
Okay, thank you. Whilst the ambitions in this statement are admirable, we are still remarkably short on detail, particularly on how we can make the digital economy a growth sector for all Scotland. In the Logan Review, it was noted that 17% of all Scottish secondary schools do not have a computer science teacher. Meanwhile, courses at Coquelin cost £6,250 for 16 weeks, a prohibitive price, particularly for those without sufficient resources. And when these students
question, please.
Okay, so I want to know, what reassurances can the Minister give to investors that Scotland can grow and retain a workforce that has sufficient skills to build a digital economy?
Thank you, Minister.
Well, I spent an awful lot of time talking to investors that are here and investors that are looking to come to Scotland. And the thing that shines through is their admiration for the skills pipeline we do have in Scotland already. But there is a recognition, of course, very much so in this plan, very specific. There's 18 actions here if you choose to read them. One of those is about digital skills specifically, and to grow the digital pipeline from 4,000 individuals per year coming through that to more than double that to 10,000 per year coming through. So we're very clear on the specifics of what needs to be done. This plan is obviously working alongside the whole suite of other plans that the Scottish Government has, including, as the member rightly recognises, the Logan report, which goes into quite a bit of detail on the strengthening of the digital skills pipeline and other aspects to help build and strengthen Scotland's already world-leading digital economy.
Stuart McMillan, followed by Jackie Bailey.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. The Minister actually would be aware that the COVID-19 pandemic has clearly had a huge economic impact, and how it's also affected inward investment, and how will this investment plan support a green recovery for the pandemic, particularly in areas like mine, whose economy was already suppressed pre-COVID-19.
Minister.
I thank Stuart McMillan for his question, and talking about successful inward investments. Of course, I visited the Diodes in his constituency last year and met with the team there who have made a significant inward investment into a very strong business in the member's constituency. In terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, it's having a significant impact on economies here and around the world. The 9 sectors that we identified through an analysis was done prior to COVID. We then reviewed that analysis on the basis of the COVID impact. And independent global research points to the fact that all of the 9 sectors that we've identified where Scotland has genuine global strengths are either resilient to the COVID pandemic in terms of their economic potential, or in fact have potential to grow as a consequence of economic shifts that have happened due to the pandemic. So we're confident that the choice of sectors we have is very strong and very robust, and Scotland is a very good place to develop and build on that success.
Jackie Bailey, followed by Andy Whiteman.
There is such a thing as collective responsibility, so I'm afraid the Minister cannot dodge questions about BIFAB. This was an inward investment by DF Barnes from Canada. The Minister says that energy transition is an important area of inward investment, and I agree with him. So why did the Cabinet Secretary for the Economy tell BIFAB on the 19th of September that they should go into administration?
It's not actually part of the statement you're asking questions on, but Minister?
Yeah, happy to. Jackie Bailey is absolutely right. Of course, this is an area where we want to focus on inward investment. And in answer to her question directly, that is not the case. The Cabinet Secretary is informing me that she did not do that. And as I said, the specifics of where we are in terms of the BIFAB situation, the Cabinet Secretary will give full information to Parliament on that, and the opportunity to respond to members on that situation.
Andy Whiteman, followed by Willie Rennie.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. An IMF study in 2019 found that 38% of foreign direct investment was phantom investment used for tax avoidance. A Fraser of Allender study at the same time showed that £9.2 billion of economic value created in Scotland left Scotland in 2017. That's 5.5% of GDP. I see no analysis of this in the plan. Can the Minister tell me what plans he has to ensure that FDI does not involve phantom investment or billions of pounds of outflow in economic value?
Minister.
Well, the reality is it's actually the opposite. As I went through the numbers, more than 600,000 jobs in Scotland are dependent on inward investment, and it's a significant contributor to business turnover, more than 3/4 of exports, and it's more than 60% of business research and development. So it adds a very significant component of Scotland's economic performance, and it's to be welcomed where it aligns with our values and our target sectors. And talking about phantom, what I'm talking about here is businesses that invest to create jobs, build assets within Scotland's economy. So if he's got that analysis just doesn't stand up based on what we're talking about here. Inward investment, as I say, but creates those jobs and builds those businesses in Scotland that creates value for Scotland's economy.
Willie Rennie, followed by Emma Harper.
What has the Minister learned from the so-called Scottish shambles in 2016 when the government signed a £10 billion agreement with a Chinese company and all they owned was a pub in Oxford? And 14 years ago, when Jim Wallace was the Enterprise Minister, life sciences was a priority sector. Why is that no longer the case? Minister.
Well, first on the last point, life science very much is a priority sector. If the member have been listening through my statement, health tech is identified as being absolutely essential to this plan. The life science, in particular precision medicine, I've identified the huge strengths that Scotland has in that sector. In the life science sector, and I'm proud to be a co-chair of the Life Science Industry Leadership Group, goes from strength to strength on that basis, and I meet with inward investments in the life science sector continually. And I've already mentioned in my statement, Thermo Fisher creating 200 jobs as part of that strong life science sector in Scotland. So absolutely is very much part of the plan. And in terms of the specific point he raises, again, the member will read through the plan, the strong theme round about Scotland's values, the importance of values, and how we want to build a wellbeing economy within Scotland and to work with investors that share those values. And that's very much at the core of the message we take to investors and the activities we want to work with, partnership with those investors to help build a strong wellbeing economy in Scotland.
5 members still want to ask questions, so let's move along. Emma Harper, followed by Gordon Lyndhurst.
Thank you. How has Scotland performed on inward investment in the past, and what effect do you think this strategic approach to attracting investment, such as through the Scottish Growth Scheme, will have on Scotland's economy?
Minister.
Thank you for the question. And Emma Harper's a member in another area of Scotland that's got significant strengths, and particularly in the food and drink and innovation in that sector that we want to build on as part of Scotland's strategic approach to inward investment. As I said in my statement in answer to an earlier question, for the last 7 years, Scotland has been the best performing part of the UK outside of London in attracting inward investment. But what we do recognise is that we can do more to maximise the wider spillover benefits of that investment. And if Scotland was able to perform maximise our performance in that aspect, we'd be able to generate another more than £4 billion in terms of GDP per year in Scotland, an extra £2 billion in terms of annual exports from Scotland, 100,000 jobs over the next decade, and more than £600 million in annual tax revenues as a consequence. So the prize is large and it's real, and it's something we're very focused on delivering through the execution of the actions in this plan.
Gordon Lyndhurst, followed by John Mason.
The Minister's statement makes no mention at all of free ports, nor does his plan itself. Does the Minister accept the benefit that the UK Government's plan for free ports in Scotland could have, and is he willing to work with the UK Government for the benefit of Scotland's communities that could be boosted by such ports in the coming years?
Minister.
Well, the member should be aware, if he's been briefed properly, that engagement with the UK Government on free ports continues. Officials are engaging on a regular basis. I had a meeting in the last few weeks with Steve Bartley, the Chief Secretary to Treasury, specifically on this point, and I gave evidence to the House of Commons International Trade Committee on this point. So perhaps he doesn't know what's happening. Alistair Jack certainly doesn't know what's happening because he was on television on Sunday and frankly didn't understand the level of engagement that has been taking place. So he's clearly been badly briefed as well. But in terms of the issue of free ports, the problem with free ports is that the UK Government hasn't yet told us, other than a flashy headline, what the actual substance of those are. They haven't explained what the tax incentives are going to be, either in terms of customs regulations and tariffs, or in terms of reserve taxes, or what the proposal is down south for what would be devolved taxes and how much we would have to fund on the basis of those. And they haven't given us a whole range of other information that we've asked for around about economic impact and the potential for economic displacement. So as a responsible for government looking at Scotland's economy in a responsible way, we want to understand what the risks as well as the opportunities are of free ports before we determine what makes sense in terms of taking or not taking those forward. But of course, the member should of course recognise that the free ports are a sticking plaster on the gaping wound that's been caused by the economic self-harm as a consequence of the UK government's decision to plough ahead with a completely misjudged exit from the European Union at the end of this year.
John Mason, followed by Colin Smith.
Thank you very much. The Minister mentions the 9 opportunity areas. Can he say how these were chosen? Because some people might be surprised, for example, that space is one of them.
Minister.
With pleasure. It was done through a piece of analysis working on 3 axes. One of the axes was Scotland's demonstrated comparative advantage in those sectors. The second axis was the flows across Europe of inward investment in each of those sectors. And the third was the potential impact on the wider economic benefits and how we maximise those. So a considerable piece of analytical work was done to crunch through the numbers and come up with those sectors. And I say the final lens that this was viewed through latterly was the international analysis round about the impact of COVID on each of those sectors. So when you look at all those 4 axes, those 9 priority sectors stood out very strongly. Space is a small sector, it is growing very fast, as a member will be aware. The announcement just in the last few days of an additional 600 jobs, many of them in our island communities relating to space, a sector that already employs 8,000 people. It is growing very fast in Glasgow. As I never fail to enjoy telling people, produces more satellites than anywhere in the world outside of California.
Colin Smith, followed by Rona Mackay, if you're both brief.
Thank you, President Officer. The plan states the benefits of employment by inward investors are felt across all of Scotland, but the Government's own figures show the proportion of jobs supported by foreign direct investment across local authorities varies from close to 30% to less than 5%, often in rural areas. So can the Minister tell me what this plan will do to deliver inward investment specifically into those rural communities, often low-wage communities, and what information will be gathered to show whether or not that's successful and more successful, frankly, than the current strategy has been?
Minister.
Well, if the member reads through the plan, he'll see for each of the 9 opportunity areas we identify very specifically Scotland's assets, and we've been showing nice wee graphical maps that ask the parts of Scotland that would benefit in each of the 9 opportunity areas. The south of Scotland figures largely in that, as does all parts of Scotland. We've been very keen to focus on a regional approach with this, which is highlighted in a number of the actions that are contained within the report. This is about identifying within the regional economies of Scotland the strengths that already exist, understanding how we take those to market to attract investment that can work with each of those regional economies to develop the global strengths that we have. Scotland is blessed by having regional strengths right across our economy in many of those key sectors, and I look forward to working with regional partnerships to deliver on those strengths and attract jobs and investment right across Scotland as a consequence of this plan.
And Rona Mackay.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Does the Minister agree that the knowledge and expertise that we've used to attract investment in the past will be very helpful in attracting investment in the future?
Minister.
Yeah, very much so. And as I said, we've been successful in this area, but we recognise that there is more that we can do. The Team Scotland approach is hugely valuable. If you look at what we did in the export plan, where we identified who we should work with, a whole range of international assets that Scotland has, from our trade envoys and our Global Scot network, our Scottish Government footprint, our SDI footprint, the wider diaspora, many businesses, our universities, our alumni, and so on and so forth. Scotland has many assets deployed already internationally, both formally and informally, and the Team Scotland approach leverages those through our Scotland is Now marketing campaign to make sure that all of those assets are deployed to target the inward investments we want to attract to Scotland, that share our values, that are in the target sectors we want to focus on, and they can maximise the opportunity for economic development and job creation across all of Scotland's communities.
Thank you. That concludes questions. Can I thank the Minister and members as we managed to get through all the questions. It's time to move on to the next item of business, but there will be a short pause.